Our guy Yakov 22 showing up. Appreciate that, Yakov. According to Mark Porter, Bryson Rogers will be a 5-star soon. Right now, I don't see a ranking on him, and not necessarily that we need to speak to Bryson Rogers, but we did cover the Saraveld commitment. Was there anything else out there in regards to guys that are on the horizon that either one of you would expect could make any kind of decision soon?
Go ahead.
I don't know about anything coming soon. I think the biggest piece of news was, at least from our site recently, I think it was Steve Wiltfong crystal balled Brandon Innis, the 5-star receiver to Ohio State, which Steve doesn't usually do that without a lot of info behind it. So that's certainly a positive for the Buckeyes. But I'm not aware if he's set a commitment date yet. But I certainly think that's a positive. And as we said, the receiving train to Ohio State from all over the country is going to keep rolling, and that would be another huge one for the Buckeyes to land.
Yeah, and I think he's visiting in June, late June, and I would expect a commitment at that point. And I know it looks like 24/7 is undergoing some rankings updates right now, but he's like the number one receiver in the country. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Carnell Tate, though, as the flirtation with Tennessee and the NIL stuff that gets rumored about going on there. But in terms of like Bryson Rogers, if you go watch his highlights, like he's a route running technician, which fits right in. And he won't be a 3-star, low 4-star for long, as we've said I think on this show before. When Jackson Smith and Jigaba committed, I think he was the number 59 receiver in the nation. And then as more people got to see him and watch him explode, he became a top 5 receiver. But June is going to be a busy month of official visits, and there are going to be some commitments. I think Luke Montgomery, the guy who's already committed out of Findlay, is hinting at some commitments coming up. And so it's,
he's on top of that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I saw somebody mention earlier, Tackett Curtis, who the linebacker out of Louisiana, who is just really violent in terms of a linebacker. If you want to go have a good time, go watch his huddle highlights. And I'll joke that he's probably going to miss upwards of 5 to 6 games in his career because of targeting.
Maybe they'll change that rule by then.
No, they won't. They're not going to change anything. We can wish and hope, but no, they won't.
They at least need to change the enforcement, which I know that they addressed. They tweaked it in terms of the discipline portion of it, but I still don't see how that's fair when you're penalized differently depending on when you committed the infraction at what point in the game. Makes no sense to me. Buyers Vacation Rentals, appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for the super chat contribution. Mentioning that there was also a crystal ball call of Dylan Raiola, the quarterback out of, I believe it's Arizona. He's connected to Nebraska through Legacy, but Arizona, I believe, to Ohio State. How much does that mean at this point?
Well, I mean, he's the number one quarterback, obviously, number one player by some in the 2024 class. But I think I don't expect any game playing, and it sounds like this may be a June thing as well. And so once he's locked in, his dad, obviously a Nebraska legacy, knows the ins and outs of how this stuff works and is very serious about his quarterback son. So I think they're going to be regimented in how they do this, and then serious once things get locked in. It's like, okay, now this part of the process is done. Now we move on to the next one. I don't see them jerking around a lot of colleges as they go through their process here, because they're very serious, and you want to set your kid up for success as best you can. And one way to not do that is to just flitter around and dance around looking at places when you already know where you want to be.
It's amazing to me the way that Ohio State quarterback recruiting has changed. I mean, I remember back when under Jim Tressel, when, obviously they landed Terrell Pryor, but they were in on some bigger names. I think Matt Barkley at one point, or maybe it was Mark Sanchez, one of the guys that ended up. Yeah. And just like, yeah, they were in on it, but they just never seemed to be able to close the deal. And obviously that's why the Terrell Pryor situation, aside from how good he was expected to be, was so big for Ohio State. And now it's just, 5-star quarterback after 5-star quarterback. And, Ryan Day gets a lot of credit, but he's not the only one recruiting these guys. He's obviously, found an offense that these guys want to play in and are successful. And I think as, guys like CJ Stroud and some of these other guys, hopefully Justin Fields at some point, start to really have success in the NFL, that's going to continue even further. But it's just amazing how much it's changed. The offense has changed. I mean, even when Tressel threw the ball around with a guy like Troy Smith, it wasn't this offense that we see now. And, the guys aren't expected to run as much as they were under Urban Meyer. So you're getting the kind of elite passers that maybe Ohio State wasn't getting before. And, it's just flipped so much that getting a guy like Dylan Raiola crystal balled to Ohio State slipped my mind for talking recruiting, because, it's just the next guy in line.
Yeah, it's just that's just how it goes now.
Yeah.
Thinking back to all of the old Ohio State quarterback targets, I can go back to Tim Couch, where he visited. Chris Sims was in it for a while. Joe Montana had a couple of sons, one that they were really in on that never really panned out. But you said Mark Sanchez, and they would get close. And Taj Boyd was another one that they thought they had, and it just it's not the most exciting offense to play in. Troy Smith won the Heisman throwing for 2,500 yards.
Right.
I mean, CJ Stroud is going to do that in September, so it's a different ball game.
Yeah. He threw almost 4,500 and finished fourth. So, and missed 2 games.